Okay, next up we have Lexi. She's gonna do a testimony. Okay, so I think we're kind of quiet, and you know, he just took me out of things. So if he took you out of things, you know. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying that something I'm very blessed to say. I've been a year sober at the end of this month. And I really never thought I'd be able to say that. And when I say sober, I don't mean I smoke weed and that's okay, because you know that's the thing, because that's now sober these days. I mean, I don't smoke weed, I don't drink, I don't take pills. That's sober. So. But I never used to be like that, so this is how it goes. I only did one paper. It could probably be this whole book, but I'm just going to do one paper. So I grew up in a great family with great parents. Everything was fine. And then things happened in my life that I didn't know why. So I needed understanding, and I didn't know who to ask. So I went to the world. And if you go to the world and you ask it questions, it's going to give you answers. But it's not going to be the right answers, you know. So it gave me answers. You know, friends, people in the world, they gave me answers, but it was more like, oh, just take this, you'll feel better, you know. So I took it. Oh, just smoke this, you'll feel better, and I smoked it. You know, oh, just drink this, you'll feel better, and I did. So that's what I kept doing. And you know, in a lost world, you're going to get lost in there, and that's what happened. And so then I was in the world, and I didn't understand the world that I thought I understood. And so I used to drink a lot since I was like 15. I smoked weed, I had my card and everything. I thought it was fine. And then I got anxiety really bad. So I went to doctors, and they prescribed me Xanax. And they used to give me 100 pills for 1 month. And so I was really taking a lot. I was taking about 3 milligrams a day. So I would go running, and then I'd forget that I went running, and I'd go to run again. My mom would be like, you just got back. And I'd be like, I did? So I covered things that had happened to me with pills, and then I covered it with alcohol, and then I covered it with smoking, and then it just kept covering and covering. And then it got to a point where I didn't want to do that anymore. But I was so far in that I didn't know how to get out. So I went to what I knew to ask was the world. So I went back to the world to ask how to get out of what I was in. And the world gave me answers, and the answers weren't right. And the answers were like, oh, just take more of this, or, you know, just hang out with this person, or just come over here and do this. And I was like, okay. So I was like lost even more, and then lost even more, you know. And then this one day I got home, and I went, hello? Anyone was home? No one was home. And I went to the kitchen. I remember I just fell on the ground, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I need to stop. And I cried out to God, because I knew who God was. I knew of him. I just didn't know. I didn't know much about it. I just thought you pray. You know, I pray at night. When I was feeling really bad, I'd cry out to him. And so then this one day, I was in the kitchen floor, and I cried, and I was just crying, and I felt so empty. And I don't know, just something, like I got up, and I wiped my tears off, and I was just like, okay. And I threw away the drugs that I had, and that was the very start. And then something happened to my brother, and he came to church, back to New Harvest, where we had grown up. We were gone, I think I was like 4 when we left, and then we came back just last year, and he came. So they told me to come, and I was still drinking and stuff, so I was like, no, I'll come later. And then I ended up coming, and I got saved. And I remember Pastor Art, I went up there, and he was like, who are you? And I was like, I'm Lupe and Gabriel's daughter. And he said, oh, I remember you when you were little. And I was like, yeah. And then from then on, you know, things started to change. It wasn't drastic right away. It just started to change. But I remember that first month, the enemy was reminding me of everything I had ever done, like every single thing. And I was holding my head. I'd be sleeping at night crying because I didn't want to go back to the world. I didn't want to go back to those things that I'd done. So I just cry and cry, and he would just remember, oh, remember when you did this? Give me visions of things that I've done, and just boom, 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 like literally, like boom, boom. And I remember driving to work and just holding my head crying like, oh, I just want this to go away. And I was like this close to just going back maybe. And I went to a worship service. It was an all-night worship. I went by myself. And this is something I really hold because it was just mind-blowing. And so I went to worship. I sat in the back, and we started to worship, and I was just worshiping. And I had been asking God, like, where are you? Where are you? You know, like I still feel bad. And I gave my life to you, so I still feel bad, you know. But this one worship service, we're worshiping, and all of a sudden, I'm not kidding, I'm serious, Jesus, I was closing my eyes, and I was worshiping, and he showed up on the right side of me, right here, and his hand was out, and he said, I'm here, I'm with you. And I couldn't see his face, but he was really bright, and he was right there. And I remember I was crying, but I couldn't even feel myself crying. I just felt the tears, like, hitting me. And when I opened my eyes, Ben, our worship leader, was like, I just wanted to tell you guys that Jesus is real, and he's here with you. Exactly what he just told me, so that was confirmation again. And when I drove home that night, I was just looking out the window, and I was just like, what? What just happened right now? I was like, what? And, you know, if you want that experience with Jesus, you know, you can't give up. You can't go back to the world because the world doesn't have that. Jesus is separated from the world. So if we want to see that, we want to feel Jesus, we need to be separated from the world fully, you know. And he's going to strengthen you, you know. He's going to give you that strength to just say no. You know, I had to change my friends. I still talk to them. I still love them. It's just I had to change my friends. And he just pulled me out of so many things. There's a lot of things that's happened, but it's good now. And yeah, so now I feel I'm sold out for Jesus, you know, and I feel everything that I've gone through, I don't regret it. I just know that it was to glorify what he took me out of, and trust me, it was a lot. So if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. That's it.